Penguin Random House Audio presents The Stars Are Fire by Anita Shreve. Read for you by Suzanne Elise Freeman. To my husband, with gratitude and love. Doubt thou the stars are fire, doubt that the sun doth move. Doubt truth to be a liar, but never doubt I love. William Shakespeare, Hamlet. What? A spring of no spring. Grace pins Jean's khakis to a line that stretches diagonally over the yellow linoleum of the kitchen. Only heat from the stove will dry the cotton. She holds off on the towels, hoping for a good day tomorrow or the next. On the last beautiful afternoon, over 2 weeks ago, there was wash on the line in every front porch and backyard. With white sheets, undershirts, and rags flapping in the wind, it looked as though an entire town of women had surrendered. Grace glances at her 2 children as they nap together in the carriage, the one with the big rubber wheels, the dark navy enameled chassis, and the white leather interior and trim. It is her prized possession, a gift from her mother when Claire was born. It takes up half the kitchen and blocks the hallway when not in use. Claire, at 20 months, is a hot sleeper and has soaked the collar of her playsuit. Tom, only 5 months old, is an easy baby. Grace sterilizes the glass bottles and rubber nipples in a saucepan on the stove. Her milk was fitful when she had Claire. She didn't even try with Tom. When she sleeps with Jean in their marriage bed at night, Grace wears a nightgown, thin cotton in the summer, flannel in the winter. Jean is always naked. Though she would prefer to lie on her back, Jean almost always manages to turn her onto her stomach. She is not built for relations this way. How could she be, never having experienced the god-awful joy that Rosie, her next-door neighbor, once spoke of? On the other hand, the position must be good for making babies. Apart from this unpleasantness, which doesn't seem important and which, in any event, is over fast, Grace thinks Jean a good husband. He is a tall man with thin hair the color of damp sand. He has midnight blue eyes and a short, ropey scar on his chin that stays white no matter what color his face, an angry red, a blushing pink, a January pale, an August tan. He works 6 days a week as a surveyor, 5 of them on the Maine Turnpike project, a job that sometimes takes him away for 3 or 4 days at a stretch. She imagines his head full of mathematics and physics, measurements and geometry, and yet, when he returns home, he seems enthralled with his children. He is talkative at supper, and Grace knows she is lucky in this, since so many of the wives complain about dull silences at home. While she holds Tom in her arms, Jean chats with Claire in her wooden high chair. Grace smiles. These are her happiest moments, with her family in harmony. In many ways, she thinks, her family is perfect. 2 beautiful children, a boy and a girl, a husband who works hard at his job and doesn't resist chores at home. Every night, Jean washes the dishes, seldom complaining about the heavy line of garments that separates the sink from the dish drainer. They live in a shingled bungalow 2 blocks inland from the ocean. Good investment, Jean always says. Before she goes to bed that night, Grace turns on a burner on the stove, correcting the flame to 1 inch high. She bends down, holding her hair so that she won't set it on fire, and lights the last cigarette of the day. The khakis must be dry by morning, and tomorrow she'll wash the pair Jean wore over the weekend. As she stands by the window, she can't see the pear tree, but she can hear the rain on its leaves, relentless, never-ending. Please bring a dry day. She turns on all the burners and adjusts the flames 1 inch high, knowing that nothing will catch fire in this wet. She weaves her way through t-shirts and underwear and climbs the stairs. I wouldn't mind seeing the stars either. Grace pauses at the landing, takes a breath, and then walks into the bedroom. She slips into her white flannel nightgown. The temperature, she reads on the thermometer just outside the bedroom window, is 42. More rain tomorrow, Jean says. How long? Maybe the rest of the week. Grace groans. The house will get waterlogged and fall down. Never. Everything is damp. The pages of the books curl. I promise you they'll dry. Come to bed, Dove. She has never been Gracie, only Grace, and then Dove with Jean. Grace doesn't feel like a dove, and she's sure she doesn't look anything like a dove, but she knows there's a sweetness in the nickname. She wonders if it means something that she doesn't have a fond or funny name for her husband. In the morning, she wakes before Jean so that she can section the grapefruit and prepare his coffee. The grapefruit a rarity that will surprise him. Breakfast will be eggs and toast today. No bacon. 3 eggs then. The meal has to last him until his bucket lunch. Ned Gardner at the grocery store told her yesterday that bakers will now be making smaller bread loaves and 1-crust pies as part of the Save Food for Europe campaign. Imagine, an entire continent starving. Jean never talks about his personal war as an engineer on B-17s, the one during which he got his ropey scar. The other husbands don't either. She can hear Jean giving himself a sponge bath in the tiny washroom they have squeezed between the 2 bedrooms upstairs. They bathe once a week in the tin tub Jean keeps on the screened-in porch and drags into the kitchen. He uses her bathwater because it's too much of an effort to drag the tub out again and empty it onto the ground. Grace has thick brown hair that she cut short right after Tom was born. Jean wasn't fond of the cut, but her mother thought the new look highlighted her cheekbones and large blue eyes. It was the only time Grace can remember that her mother called her beautiful, an exclamation that escaped her like a bee sting. Jean, when he first met Grace, described her as pretty, which she understood as a description less than beautiful. Grace, at the moment, doesn't mind what others think, because living with short hair, if not fashionable, is easier than dealing with pin curls or a set. She tucks it behind her ears. She looks good in a hat. Whenever she goes out, she wears clip earrings. Slightly above average in height, she is tall in heels. She lost the pregnancy weight fast after Tom. 2 children under the age of 2 kept her running most days. She pictures her husband now, bare-chested, wetting and soaping a washcloth, getting his face first, then his neck, and finally his underarms. Often he will scrub his wrists. She can hear him tap his razor against the sink. Is he whistling? Grace wears no makeup except lipstick, a well-blotted mauve. It makes her lips look fuller, Jean says. When she talks to him, he stares at her mouth as if he might be hard of hearing. She scratches a match against the box it came in and lights a cigarette, inhaling deeply. First of the morning. What section today? She asks, savoring the wifely pleasure of watching Jean tear into his grapefruit. We're resurveying the Kittery portion to register the settling. Jean has explained to her how he makes 3-dimensional elevations and maps for engineers and contractors. She likes the names of the instruments and tools he peruses in catalogs. Theodolites and transits, olidades and collimators, but she doesn't know precisely how they work. Once, when he was courting her, he took her to Meserve Hill and brought out his tripod and tried to teach her how to use the transit. But before she could look into the eyepiece, he positioned her by putting his hands around her waist, and she didn't hear what he said. She said,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?